The hypothesis is go-to-market hasn't evolved in 30 years. If you think about how companies scale into new markets and new regions, it hasn't changed in 30 years. So the tech under it has changed, but the process is the same. So we think there's a huge opportunity to modernize the way companies scale into new markets and new verticals. So that's the spirit behind it. And it's really been pushed in the last few years. There's been a tidal wave of venture and private equity money that's been flown into the market, and which is great. So, but with that has come an incredible amount of pressure for these companies to scale and to scale at pace. And that pressure, even more recently, has been put into deliver revenue. Which fortunately for us is exactly what we do. So what we do is we help companies scale in new markets, new verticals. We help them do it quickly, we help them de-risk it, and we help support the team to make them feel comfortable and really understand the market. So that's what we do. It's a typical journey for us. If you're thinking about you're a client and you say, okay, how do I want to engage with Pangea? The typical journey is we have discussions with the team and say, okay, here's our perspective on the market. So we have folks that have come from some of the best enterprise tech companies in Europe, in the US, in Asia, et cetera. And we say, okay, here's our perspective on the market. Here's red ocean, blue ocean. So imagine a sort of localized TAM overlay. So every company understands their TAM. They've got a pretty good perspective on their target market. We put a local real world overlay on that market. So we say, okay, here's our perspective on that market. Here's blue ocean, red ocean. This is our natural view of where companies should scale. And then given that, most companies say, okay, cool, got it, makes sense. Now, how do we do it? Unless you're heavily networked in that market, it's very hard to get access to the talent. That's what we've done most of our careers, everybody in Pangea. So we've got a very good perspective on who's good and who's bad in that market. So then we help our clients have access to talent that they wouldn't have otherwise. The only other alternative typically is to go through recruiters, and it's a highly transactional experience. It's expensive and it's transactional. So our view is that market's broken and there's a mechanism to add a lot more value to that space. So we give a view on what is the market, then we say, okay, here's the talent and here's how people go after the talent. And then once they're hired, then you need to have a very high-end infrastructure to support those folks. And it's a huge space called employee of record or PEO. It's a huge space. That space has got a low watermark issue in tech, i.e. how do I look after very high-end people? So most people, if you're a younger company or new to market, you need to attract the best of the best of that space. In order to attract the best of the best, you need to have the best of the best infrastructure in that. So you need to have a McKinsey, Google level infrastructure to support those people. So we pegged a very white glove, very high watermark, sort of employer of record PEO in those markets, so companies can utilize them or not, doesn't matter to us. Utilize us for the back end. And then probably the most important thing, once you have the people in-house and the team there, then you need to make them effective. So then what we do is we wrap every piece of ecosystem, relationship, data, market intelligence, playbook, anything that we have, we wrap that around our clients' teams to make them successful. So it's very simple. Our job is to make that team successful and make the client successful very quickly. So that's what we do. We have a platform that sits under that. So we basically take all the market data, all the talent data, all the ecosystem information, all the enablement. We merge that into a very centralized and very specific view for our clients. So they say, okay, how do I see this? How do I do it? How do I really go to market? It's sort of an international in a box. So those are the components we do.